Hi, this is Isaiah with IJC Writing, a place of fantasy, romance, and sometimes both. Today we're going to talk about lore, but before we jump into that, let's get all the preliminaries out of the way. I'm an indie author. I would love if you would go buy my book. It's called Elixir of Feelings. It's a paranormal romance. Um, it can be found at Amazon in both hardback and ebook format. Please like, subscribe, share my channel if you find anything that I say useful or entertaining or both. Please go to my website at IJC Writing. There you will find um, a lot of writing material. Most of it are quick reads. The only thing that's more than 1,000 words are the work in progress chapters, which there's a few of those, but for the most part you will find prompts and a link to my book as well. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. All right, so someone on Twitter asked me to talk about lore, and I don't really particularly know what about the lore, so I'm just going to give my generalized overview. Much like the rest of my writing advice, what I would do first is I would just give my idea of what it means before I actually really research what other people are doing for it. And then if there's ever any more needed, then I'll research what other authors say or what different people say or what the field is and then go into it. So lore to me is something that's really important. And the reason why it's so important to me is because it's literally what makes your world seem more real, more lived in is the word I want to look for. And for me, I don't really have a particular one way to do my lore because in some cases I actually take what's in the real world and put it in mine and change it to make it my own. And other times I just create my own. Case in point is my vampires. I did a video on the vampires. I don't think I really go into the curse and how I got to how they're vampires, but if anybody wants that, I can go further in that and do just the lore of my vampires and go into detail on individual races. And then another one where I have gods that have no correlation to, real world, deities, cultures, or anything of that nature. I have my own very own barbarian queen, Eros. I think I've talked about him at some point in time on my channel. If I haven't, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to explain him. Who, the gods of death. Like, the gods of death, the original four gods, I did kind of like look up names just to give them flavors, basically, or like how to attach looks and personalities to them. But after that, I pretty much made my own. Especially with the gods of death, Raziel and Eros. I know I did talk about Eros now. Those were complete unique characters to me, and if there is another character or god or deity or something of that nature, it was nothing. It was not that I grabbed it. It was just of my own design. And how I came up with these is just, that's who I am as a writer. I create these stories, and then even though I don't particularly use all of them, sometimes they go in the background as lore, which was the case for a lot of the stories that I have, and where I thought of something really, really cool, but then I thought, like, I'm not sure I really want to write into it, but I don't want to throw away all the hard work that I've done. That could be a thing. I mean, I'm weird, so I literally just wrote lore once upon a time ago. Like, when I was, in my late teens, I would just sit and write lore of how to make my world feel more real, Recently on my website, I wrote my Valentine's Day piece where I wanted to explain why my people would celebrate Valentine's Day. All of these things that that lore does is literally just the history. And at the end of the day, that's all really lore is. It's explanations for why people do certain things. If you want your characters to have a particular personality or a particular culture or something of that nature, write the lore for it. Just write it. Lore is your explanation for why your characters as a whole particularly behave the way that you want them to, in my eyes. I know that's not exactly what it is to some people, but that's how I look at it. The reason why the cultures are the way they are is because of the leaders that they had. When it comes to humans being more innovative and wanting to use technology, to the dark elves, like very, very, military hardened. All of this is due to some lore that I've written at one point in time or another, because they're my explanations for things. The reason why my characters say the things they say and they have the slangs that they have is because of the lore. And I wrote all of this down because when I started writing, this is all a part of world building. Because when I started writing and I wanted to say things like, swears that we have in the real world that wouldn't make sense in mine, I had to give reasons why they do that. The lore of Drakenfold is why, if you are reading a Dark Elf that I wrote, they will say, by the queen, queen's breath, queen's tit, queen's whatever, is because of the lore. It's because of what I wrote in the background to put a queen in place of the Underdark. Ancestor's Mercy would be when you're reading an elf, and because of the tribal background that the elves have, and that since they are of the African culture that I gave them, their ancestors are a huge part of their society. That's why they're going to say the things that they say. That's why they're going to be more standoffish and trying to stick to themselves, because it's all about the tribe to them. It's why the angels and the vampires, they have a rival with each other, but they won't let anyone else mess with each other because they still have that close bond that they were cousins at one point in time. Orcs are very, very, hard-working, driven people, and, they really just want a piece of their own, which is why I have the Tuskers and the Detuskers. Those are who are more civilized versus those that are more barbarians. I created these cultures, these lores of how they separated each other. Lore is extra important in world building, and it really doesn't matter how you get there. If you want to take European cultures and just add it in and just basically copy paste but change the names, dates, times, and a little bit of the actions to make the history match. Say you want to write a piece where you write a fantasy world where it's pretty much Civil War times America. Change Grant to someone else, someone else's name, change his race, change Abraham Lincoln or whomever you need to match it, and just add the history, but it will explain certain things. Explain why they act differently than, we did when we went through that time. Maybe Grant loses a few more battles. Maybe Grant loses altogether, but you make that clear connection that he's supposed to be Grant and whatever the case may be. And what would that do? Maybe you just want to write a fantasy world where it is the real world and you just changed history slightly, but that history, that lore has to be there. So it's really just all a part of world building. And I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point, so I pretty much am going to end the video here. If anyone would like for me to talk about this more or about my particular lore, just let me know. Leave your comments in the comment sections. Contact me on my website. There's a link to my email there. Contact me on Twitter, Instagram, any of those. I'd love to hear from anyone. Feedback is always welcome, whether it's good or bad, because I can't get better if I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And if I'm doing something right, I need to know what I'm doing right to continue doing and go in that direction as well. So yes, like, subscribe, share, visit me on Twitter, IJC Writing, buy my book, and I will see you guys next week. Same time. I try to post my videos every Thursday at 5 Eastern. And then don't forget that on my website, I have a weekly episode that I try to post a episode every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are on part 6. We're getting really close to the end of the first series. So just check it out. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.